Welcome back to Coffee with Gringos, brought to you by Dynamic English. I'm your host, Jesse Andrews Maxwell, and I'm joined today with my lovely co-host, Brittany Duke.
Hello, everyone. How are you, Jesse?
I'm well, thank you.
Fantastic.
Now, many of you listening can probably hear that Brittany has a bit of a different accent than I do. So, Brittany, where exactly are you from?
So, I am from South Africa,
Uh-huh.
specifically Johannesburg, South Africa, one of the capitals.
Okay. In 2019, I was actually fortunate enough to travel to South Africa.
No ways.
A very, very interesting country.
Yeah.
So, what is your story, and what brings you to Chile?
So, I originally came to Chile in 2019 as a volunteer for this program called English Opens Doors. It's a UN program, also with the Ministry of Education.
Okay, nice.
And I was put in La Serena, and basically I fell in love with Chile and decided to stay.
All right,
Yeah.
excellent. Now, you mentioned that you're from South Africa.
Right.
What is the thing that you would say you like most about being from South Africa?
So for me, I feel like I've learned a lot being South African just because of how diverse South African culture is.
Very diverse country.
Yeah, you've been there, you know.
Yeah.
And what about you? You're from the US. What's your
Yeah.
story?
Well, I'm originally from Oklahoma in the United States. I always say in the state of Oklahoma, there are more cows than there are people, and that's actually true. So pretty simple childhood, but similar to you, I came to Chile many years ago to study in Viña del Mar, and just kind of ended up falling in love with the place. So I'm still here.
Chile has that effect on people.
On some people.
On some people.
I think some people it can drive a little crazy, but yeah, for me it works.
Yeah.
So,
And what do you miss most about the US?
what do I miss most about the U.S.? Probably nothing. No, obviously I miss friends and family, but really the United States is a bit complicated, so I would probably say some of the junk food. Right? There's some certain items maybe that a McDonald's here doesn't have. For example,
Really?
breakfast.
Yes.
The McDonald's breakfast is completely different here. So there are times where I really just want biscuits and gravy or an Egg McMuffin. And I can't get those.
Sorry, biscuits and gravy.
Yeah, but when we say biscuits, they're actually like little bread rolls. They're not biscuits.
They're not like cookies.
They're not cookies.
We say biscuits for cookies.
Yeah, you say biscuits. But in the United States, a biscuit is more like a piece of bread.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so I would probably say the food.
Yeah. Same.
Family, friends, and food. Those
Yeah.
are the things that I miss the most.
For sure.
Now, what misconceptions do you think that maybe some people have about South Africa?
You're looking at it.
Okay.
I feel like the biggest misconception that people have about South Africa is that everyone is black.
Okay. Yeah.
That we ride animals to school.
Okay.
Or we use animals for public transportation, like an elephant, a lion, animals running wild in the streets. That's not true.
Well, no, I know from having visited South Africa that's not true. But I will say, one time I was going on a safari, and on the way to the safari, it was rather strange to see a baboon sitting next to a garbage bin eating an apple. And it was just considered to be a very normal thing for the people around. And for me, I just thought it was very strange that a baboon is just wandering around the park.
You were shooketh.
I was a little surprised, to say the least.
I feel like a baboon is just an extension of a monkey. And you do get monkeys in some parts of the world just
Right.
hanging around.
Maybe hanging around in a tree, but this one was just kind of sitting next to a fence and a trash can eating an apple and next to the highway. So that was a little strange for me.
Fair enough, fair
Yeah.
enough.
But I do know that there is that misconception about race
Yes.
in South Africa.
I mean, you were
unfortunately.
there. You've seen there are white South Africans, Indian South Africans, mixed race.
Correct. There's a lot of
Yeah.
Indian
A
South
lot of
Africans.
Indians, yeah.
Yeah.
And what about you in the US?
Misconceptions about the US? I would say the biggest misconceptions that people have, one is that everyone is fat in the United States, which there are a lot of obese people in the United States. You know who you are. But I would also say there's a big misconception that if you are from the United States, that must mean that you're rich.
Yeah.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's not the case either.
Yeah.
And that everybody walks around with guns, which a lot of people do own guns in the United States, but not everybody walks around with
Just like
the gun on their hip. So I
ready.
would say those are probably some of the biggest misconceptions
Yeah.
about the United States. So, yeah.
And just a question, because you're a foreigner living in Chile, and even though people know more about the US in the world than they do about South Africa, I feel like some people have told me some really interesting things about my own country
Okay.
that I never realized.
Like what?
So I've had at least like 6 people in my time in Chile ask me, okay, Brittany, do you swim in the ocean in South Africa? I'm like, yes, people swim. And they say, okay, but how can you swim if there are sharks? And I'm like, sharks? Aren't there sharks in Chile? Did sharks not like make it this far? This part of the world?
You know, from the best of my knowledge, because of the current, the sharks in Chile stay
Exactly.
way out in the ocean and don't normally come close to the shore.
So that's what I heard, like
Yeah.
recently.
Yeah.
And I was really surprised because I thought that the whole world and South Africans also just there swimming with sharks all day, every day. But no. So that was interesting because I never thought about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't think we've ever had shark attacks in Chile.
No,
No.
never
It's
heard of
not a common thing, which is fine for me.
that.
Fine.
Absolutely, I'm okay
I'm
with
perfectly okay with it. All
So
right.
has that ever happened to you where you're like, oh, that's actually true?
About the United States, not particularly.
Hmm.
I'm pretty heavy on the news, so I try and stay informed.
Yeah.
And yeah, unfortunately, the United States has so many issues that it's kind of hard to keep up with
Yeah.
all of them. So
Every
yeah,
country, I feel like.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So, being from South Africa, and I'll tell you about my culinary experience in South Africa. It was very surprising to me that some of the animals are eaten. For example, I was in a place and they served me a pate made from zebra.
Zebra. Are
Zebra.
you?
Yeah. Now, these were apparently the zebras were humanely treated or humanely, I guess, died
As
of
possible.
natural causes, and so they said, "Hey, let's make some pate." Just so you know, I did not like the taste; it was not good.
I
But
can imagine.
one thing that I did love in South Africa was the jerky made from ostrich.
Biltong.
Biltong, okay, I guess that's what you call it. Biltong is delicious, and I want more of it.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it was a really, really interesting to say, oh, I'm eating ostrich. So, but with that being mentioned, what would you say is your favorite South African food?
So I feel like biltong.
Okay,
Okay.
we have that in common.
And then also, so I'm half English, half Afrikaans. Okay.
Okay.
And so I grew up on my mom's side of the family with a lot of Afrikaans food, traditional food.
Now, what is Afrikaans food?
So it's kind of like a twist on traditional English food. So it's just like different spices. You get like these things called pumpkin fritters, which are like fried pumpkin like cakes almost.
Interesting.
And things like bean and potato mash. I don't know, I feel like it's kind of what I imagine food in the south of the USA to taste like. So maybe you can relate. You know, like very rich and hearty food.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the food in the South is typically heavier,
Yeah.
richer.
Lots of meat.
Lots of meats, lots
Yeah.
of creams.
Yes, butter.
Lots of butter.
Yeah.
We always say in the southern United States that it's just meat and potatoes. That's the basics. Some form of meat and some form of potato.
The staple.
Good to go. That's the staples right there. So now South Africa, you mentioned that there is a heavy Indian influence. How much of the Indian influence has affected the South African food?
A lot.
A lot.
Because I feel like we eat spicier food. I mean, me being in Chile, I'm like, where's the spice?
Right.
Where's the
So,
picante?
for those of you who are not in Chile, who are either watching or listening, Chileans do not like spicy food.
Nope. Like, not even pepper
And
sometimes.
I know, like black pepper is considered spicy to a Chilean, so I agree. But I've always found it ironic that in the United States, they don't pronounce this country Chile. They say chili.
Yeah.
So a chili is a chili pepper, which is
Yes.
spicy, and the country of Chile is the complete opposite. of that.
Exactly.
So-
Super ironic.
Yeah. So what do you do here to get that spicy? Do you just add a lot of spices to all of your food?
Basically.
Yeah.
And I also feel like the spices, so for example, oregano, it's not as strong. The flavor is not as strong here. So I live with another South African in Santiago, and we just put as much as possible.
Okay.
Yeah. And then also we found like these backstreet kind of Asian markets where they sell like the spicier.
Now, you say
Flavors.
backstreet Asian markets. Are these black markets? Are you
Oh no.
involved in some illegal spice trade
No,
that we need to know about?
No, you just wouldn't find this in like a mall or like a mainstream
Right.
area.
Okay. No, I agree. I enjoy spicy food, so it is always a challenge
Yes.
to get that spice level up, because I think here in Chile, about as spicy as they go is merquén.
Yeah, and ají, but ají is like,
Yeah, but to me, I mean, I could eat merquén by the spoonful, and it's not spicy. It's not going to do anything. So,
sorry guys, it's true.
yeah.
But what about you? What is your favorite food from the US? What food do you miss? I mean, you said junk food.
I definitely miss the junk food. But no, I think again, talking about the South, something that we have in where I'm from is called a chicken fried steak. So we basically take a normal, perfectly good steak and you beat it, you pound it to where it's flat, very similar to
Like tenderizing.
you tenderize the meat,
Yeah.
by hammering it down. And I can't think of the name of the German dish, but it's very
A schnitzel.
a schnitzel. It's very similar to a schnitzel. Then you will bread that in panko
Yeah.
and then deep fry it, like you would
Yeah.
fry fried chicken. It's so delicious, and it's something that I can't get here.
Wait, but there's no actual chicken.
No, it is a chicken fried steak. Okay, so the batter and the preparation is similar to fried chicken. So that's why it's a chicken fried steak.
I got you.
Yeah. So, what on the note of food? What do people in South Africa? A lot of people maybe eat that you refuse to eat.
I feel like in Africa in general, it's quite common for people to eat the innards of animals,
Okay.
of
so
beef,
intestines.
goat, yeah.
Okay.
And I just can't. Like I've tried tripe, I've
Tripe,
tried
yeah.
kidney. Just the strongest flavors that it's just too much for me.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's several things here in Chile as well. Anything that comes to mind in Chile that you won't touch?
Horse.
Yeah, that's an interesting one because we were talking about the biltong. I say jerky,
I
but
know.
here they actually have jerky made from horse meat,
Exactly.
which I find
That's
a bit strange.
interesting.
It's really salty too. It's very
It
salty.
is super
It's,
salty.
really, really salty.
Yeah.
I think the thing for me here in Chile, it's called prieta, blood sausage.
Yes.
No, no. Just the name and the way it translates to English as blood sausage.
That's the thing. Once I was at like a New Year's Eve party, and obviously there was an asado, okay, a barbecue, and they served prieta, and I probably would have tried the Prieta.
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 Okay.
If nobody had told me what was actually inside.
But they made the mistake
know,
of telling you
I feel like that's the biggest error with
what
me.
it is.
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent.
And what strange things do people eat in the US?
Oh, that's a good question. But really, and I always try to explain this, that the United States is really like 50 miniature countries
Right.
all in one. So things that people maybe eat in the South, they would not eat in the North, or vice versa.
Yeah.
West Coast, East Coast. I would say probably the things that I refuse to eat are either pig's feet. Yeah, it's exactly what it sounds, and they're pickled. Okay, so you will see a jar, and it has a substance, a liquid, to
What color?
ferment. Clear, but it's ferment, a vinegar of some sort, and then you literally see the feet of pigs in the jar.
Delicious.
So, yeah.
And it looks like a pig's foot?
It's literally a pig's foot. The hoof is still intact.
With
and part of the leg. Yeah. Pig's feet.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's interesting, but I absolutely refuse. I will not not touch it.
Just the way it looks. At least if it didn't look like a pig's foot, you know?
Yeah, but it's literally like,
Yeah.
just imagine like some fish is served with the head still intact.
Yes.
Okay, this is the foot served with the toenails still intact.
Not appetizing at all.
No, not at all. So, have you ever traveled to the U.S.?
No, but my best friend, South African, she actually lives in the US. So,
Okay.
and
nice.
now I have some American friends, so I definitely plan on going there.
Okay, where does your friend live?
I always forget.
Okay.
But it is, I'm pretty sure, Sarah, forgive me if I'm wrong, but it's like Rhode Island or
Okay.
something like that.
Nice.
Yeah.
I used to live in Massachusetts, and Rhode Island is a really, really nice state.
Nice.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you could go anywhere in the U.S.,
Yeah.
other than to see your friend
Yeah.
in Rhode Island, what do you think would be your destination?
So, if I had to only pick one, I would definitely say Orlando.
How did I know? Everybody wants to go see Mickey Mouse at Disney World.
Oh no, not Disney World. I
Ah.
want to go to what is this town called? It's known for like witchcraft, and it looks almost like a European city.
I'm not sure. Harry Potter World?
No.
No. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I've never been to Disney World, so I don't know.
Okay. No.
So, all right.
I got it. New Orleans. New Orleans.
Ah,
New Orleans.
New Orleans.
New Orleans.
However, New Orleans is not in Florida. New
Oh.
Orleans is in the state of Louisiana. They're close by each other.
Whoops.
Maybe 1,000 kilometers apart, but yeah, they're New Orleans is a very, very interesting city. Very, very fun.
Yeah. My bad.
Be careful with the hand grenades. In New Orleans, they serve a drink that is probably about this tall. For our listeners, you can't see, but I'm probably about 2.5 feet tall. And the bottle resembles a grenade. And it is filled with Everclear and other terrible alcohol. It tastes very sweet, so it's very dangerous because you don't realize how
Right.
drunk you are until it's too late.
It's
So,
kind of like a terremoto in Chile.
it's very similar.
Yeah,
Yeah, to that
okay.
same sensation.
Thank you for the
So,
tip.
Yeah, that's my advice for you is avoid the hand grenades. So, Brittany, this has been an interesting chat to introduce you to the viewers and to the listeners. But here we're going to play a game. All right? So this is a game I like to call First Response.
Yeah.
All right. There are no correct or incorrect answers.
Okay, let me get ready for this one.
Yes. So I'm going to ask these questions, and I want your honest answer. All right. So if you go to jail, what crime did you commit?
Fraud.
Fraud.
Yes, like tax fraud, definitely.
Okay, so to those in the tax services, if you're listening here, we've got a criminal on our hands that apparently hasn't paid her taxes.
Not true. Not
All
true.
right. Now, if you weren't doing your job right now,
Yeah.
what would you say is your dream job?
I feel like this is something that I battle internally with all the time. But I would say a human rights lawyer.
A human rights lawyer. And
Yeah.
if I understand right, you are currently studying law.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Excellent.
I am.
Nice. Do you have a favorite book?
No, I really don't.
Okay. Do you know how to read?
Yeah,
Is that something that you learned? Do they teach you how to read in South Africa?
Definitely not.
Oh no. Yeah, your teacher was a baboon and a giraffe, and yeah, there you go.
These are the stereotypes that we tried to avoid.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah, and you did not live in a grass hut
No.
either.
No.
Okay.
Not all my life.
All right. Do you have a favorite flower?
No. Yes, a daisy.
A daisy.
Yes.
Okay. Is there an artist or an actor that is generally liked by most and that you can't tolerate? Because for me,
Yes.
it's Daddy Yankee. I don't understand.
I get it.
Why? I don't understand the appeal.
No.
So
I feel like every song sounds the same.
that's my opinion.
Yeah.
But yeah. So,
Okay.
but he's universally popular, and I
Mm.
just don't care. So, yeah.
Mine would definitely be Tom Cruise.
You know, I met Tom Cruise one time
No
in New
ways.
York. Many years ago, he was promoting one of the Mission Impossible films, and he walked past, and I was kind of taken aback because he is so short.
I've heard.
He is a tiny little man. Tiny. My mother was about 5'10", tall for a woman.
Uh-huh.
My mother was shocked and said she had to basically bend over like she was going to take a photo with a little child because Tom Cruise is really, really short. I was surprised. I mean, I'm a tall guy, but
You
I
are.
looked down and was like, that's Tom Cruise?
That's interesting.
So whenever we talk about the camera makes things look bigger, I think that's true.
Certainly true in this
Yeah.
case.
Absolutely true. All right. Now, you mentioned an actor that you don't necessarily like. Do you have a favorite actor or actress?
You know what? Okay, so Meryl Streep. I love Meryl Streep.
Amazingly talented.
I also really liked Johnny Depp before this whole fiasco with his ex.
Okay.
So, yeah, I don't know. It put a sour taste in my mouth. So,
All right.
yeah.
Yeah.
What about you?
Taste change. Ooh, my favorite actress by far, is a British actress named Minnie Driver.
Minnie Driver.
Minnie Driver. So Minnie, if you're watching, I know you have a podcast as well. You can always invite me to be a guest on your podcast, Minnie Questions. I would love to be there. So yeah, Minnie Driver is by far.
Uh-huh.
She's a talented actress, musician. She has a podcast. She's beautiful, great sense of fashion, and really, really dark sense of humor that I absolutely adore.
Yeah. It's
So, and she's
definitely-
an author. She just recently published a book. So,
Mm.
do you go to concerts much?
No, not much. Especially, the pandemic has complicated things.
Right.
I would like to.
Now, but the concerts you have been to, what would you say
Yeah.
was the best concert of your life?
So there's this band, kind of like an electronic alternative band in
Okay.
South Africa called Good Luck. And I've seen them perform 3 times and I absolutely love them. Please come to Chile.
You hear that? Good luck. If you're listening or watching, we need some good luck here in
Exactly.
Chile. All right. What is the thing that irritates you the most or your pet peeve?
My pet peeve.
Yeah.
I definitely say I really don't like dealing with arrogant people.
Yeah. Arrogant people. Yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah, it's hard to it's hard to keep my cool in like
Okay.
situations like that.
But
yeah,
you typically compose yourself well.
try.
All right, last few questions here. What is your favorite Chilean curse word?
Kiwia.
Kiwia.
Okay, chucha.
Okay, it's not necessarily a curse word, I don't think, but okay.
Chucha.
I don't think quechucha is is necessarily a
Yeah.
curse
Okay,
word.
well, so what's yours?
Kuliao.
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 Okay, but you need to say it in like a sentence so I can hear how you say it, with
Like,
conviction.
esta weon kuliao, kuliao. Something
Me
like that.
encanta.
Something like that. All right, what is your favorite English curse word?
My favorite English curse word, I probably use shit the most.
Okay.
For me, fuck is like really strong. Not that I don't use it, but
Okay.
shit.
Yeah.
And you?
Shit. No, fuck.
Oh,
Fuck.
fuck.
That's by far the best word. I think it's probably the best word in any language ever invented.
But it's quite funny because I speak Afrikaans because my mom's Afrikaans, as I mentioned. So when I'm really angry, Afrikaans just comes out, and then I swear in Afrikaans.
Okay.
So, for example, like...
So give me an example of some cursing in Afrikaans.
Okay. So if I had to stub my toe, for example, on
Okay.
a piece of furniture, nee, fuck it, man.
Wow.
Ach, nee, fuck it, man.
That almost sounds like German.
Yeah, everybody says that. German, Arabic, Russian.
Kind of a mix of all of those, but you have to say it with that passion and that rage.
Yeah, and that's what makes it feel so satisfying when you say it.
Okay. All right. After the show, you're gonna have to teach me some of these curse words so I can just start just randomly spitting them out. Yeah. All right. And final question, Brittany. If I were, and I'm not going to do it because I don't have, but if I give you $1 million, what is the first thing you're going to do with that money?
The first thing I would do if you gave me $1 million is I would buy a house in Chile.
Okay.
Because I'm tired of the visa struggle.
Okay.
So I would buy a house, get my visa automatically, hopefully, and then help my family come over.
Okay, so you wouldn't just spend it all on cocaine and prostitutes?
I would try really hard not
Not
to.
to?
Yeah.
But you would be tempted, right? Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
So, excellent. Well, I think that's all the time we're going to have for today. So, those of you watching, thanks for watching. To those of you listening, thanks for listening. And we'll see you back here the next time on Coffee with Gringos.
See you guys soon.